Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this SQL series, till now we've already covered the introduction to SQL. So in my first video, I discussed what is SQL, types of SQL commands, syntax and various examples. Then in my second video related to SQL, I talked about top 17 beginner level SQL questions and how to solve them. What are the solutions? So this is the easy level. Then in my last video, I discussed top 24 intermediate level SQL questions with their solutions. These are moderate and for intermediate and somewhat experienced professionals. So now in my today's video, I will talk about top 10 expert level SQL questions with the solutions which are hard and for experienced professionals. So after this, I will be covering various other questions. Those would be intermediate or hard, and it would be scenario based questions related to company interviews. So stay tuned for all those questions. So now let's start with this video. Alright, so now we are on the sqlpractice.com website. If you have watched my previous videos, you must be aware with this website. This website provides the questions with their hints so that you can practice SQL. I have already covered easy as well as medium level difficulty. Now in this video, I will be covering all the questions coming under hard category. So if I click on view all questions and select difficulty hard, so these are the questions, total 10 questions are there. I have to solve all these questions with the solutions. Alright, so before going ahead, if you're new to this channel, I would really request and appreciate if you can subscribe to this channel. And if you like this video, please share across with your friends so that it can reach to majority of the audience. Alright, so let's start with the question number 1. The questions will come on the right hand side and we have to type in the query in this particular console. Alright, the question is show all of the patients grouped into weight groups. Show the total amount of patients in each weight group. So ultimately we have to create two columns. One column would be weight group and second column would be number of patients in that particular weight group. And order the list by weight group descending. So for example, if the weight is between 100 to 109, then they are placed in the 100 weight group. And if the range is 110 to 119, the weight group would be 110. That means it would be the minimum multiplier of 10. So whatever is the number, whatever is the multiplier of 10 that comes before that particular weight will be the weight group. Alright, so for example, if I just type in the comment, for example, if the weight is 105, right, it should go into 110 weight group. If for example it is 95, then it should go into 90. If the weight is, let's say, 126, it should go into 120. I hope you understood the logic. Now how to execute this? So first of all, we have to create the weight groups, right? For that, I will just remove the query which is already there and type in select. Now, first I need the count of the patients, right? I need the count of the patients in each weight group, right? So I will just type in count. Count is the function through which I can get the total number of patients, and asterisk is for all. And I can define this column name as, let's say, total patients, right, comma, and the second column is my weight group. Now what should be the formula of weight group? So in order to get 110 for 105, what I can do is I can divide the weight by 10. Let's say if the weight is 105, so if I divide 105 by 10, the answer will be 10.5, right? Now if I get the integer value which is below this value, that is 10, and then multiply this value by 10, right? Then I will get 100, right? So these are the steps which we need to follow. For example, in 95, if I have to divide this by 10, so 95 divided by 10 would be 9.5, right? And then if I have to get the integer value which is lower than this number, then I will get 9. And then if I multiply this by 10, I will get 90. So this is what we want. So ultimately we have to divide the weight by 10, then it will come 95 and 9.5 in this case. Now I want to get the integer value lower than this number. So for that I can use the function floor. So you must have worked on floor and ceiling. Like if floor is there, that means the lower integer to the number provided, and ceil is the higher number. So if I want to get the, instead of 9, I want to get 10 for 9.5, I would have used ceil instead of floor, right? So now it would be floor of weight divided by 10, right? And the final step is to multiply by 10, multiplied by 10. Right, so this will be the formula, and the column name can be, let's say, weight group. Right, so we want these two columns from table patients. Right, now we understood, we got the columns, but there is one more step that we have to get like inculcate in this particular solution. But let's see what is the outcome of this before going ahead. Now I'm getting the total count, which is 4530, and the weight group as 60, right? But this is summarizing. I don't want this. I want to get all the weight groups. So what I'll do is I'll write group by weight group, or I can just copy this and type in. Now there is one more step, but let's see what happens right now. Let's execute this. Now you can see everything is there. I'm getting total number of patients in each weight group, right? And this is absolutely right. But what we need to do is we need to get the last step, that is order the list by the weight group descending. So what I'll do is I'll add order by. Again, I'll copy this order by weight group, and it should be descending. All right, now execute this, control plus enter. You got it correct. The query that we incorporated is absolutely correct. So now the solution provided by this website is same here. Let's see the alternative web solution. Now here they have provided truncate the weight -1 as weight group and count. So this is also fine. Because of this, we will get the similar output. And then group by is same and order by is also same. Let's see to another solution. This first we are getting the count, which is absolutely fine. Then what we are doing is weight minus weight percentage 10 as weight group. This will also give me the same output. But in my opinion, this is the legit and one of the best way using floor function, and before that dividing the weight by 10 and then ultimately multiply by 10. All right. So now let's move to the next question. Now first question is completed. If I click on the second question, the question is show patient ID, weight, height, is obese from the patient's table. Display is obese as a boolean 0 or 1. Obese is defined as weight, that is in kg, divided by height, that is meter square. It should be greater than equal to 30. Weight is in units kg, height is in units centimeter. So what is provided is, if we go to table info, in the patient's table, height, this is provided in the kgs. Sorry, height is provided in the units centimeter, and weight is provided in units kg. right? So this is what it is already there in default. Now if we have to calculate obesity, that would be weight, that would be the weight that is in kgs, right? This will be as it is divided by height meter square. So that would be height into height, and that too already the height that is provided is in centimeters. We have to convert that into meters. So if we have to convert 1 centimeter into meter, that will be 0.01 meter, because meter is 100 times the centimeter, right? So in this case we have to multiply this by 10,000 and divide weight by height square. So let's see how this can happen. First column is patient ID. Select patient ID, then weight, height, and then fourth column is obese. So is obese is weight divided by height into height, right? So this is the denominator, height into height. Numerator would be weight, and in denominator height into height, but height is in centimeter and we want in meter square. So meter square, for that we have to multiply this by 4 zeros, right? So that would be multiplied by this 1 2 3. All right, so this is the formula. If this is greater than equal to 30, that means we have to provide case when this formula is greater than equal to 30, then I want 1, else 0, right? And then close the case, right? So this is my column 3, as is obese, right? So what I am doing is I want boolean, right? Is obese as boolean 0 or 1. 1 should be there when the value of this weight divided by height meter square is greater than equal to 30. So whenever this case is true, I'm getting 1, that is obese is 1, otherwise I'm getting 0, right? From table name is patients, right? Let's try to execute this. And we got the query correct. So this is absolutely right what we have provided. Now here what we can do is, instead of using this formula, I'm just copying this. Rest everything will remain the same. Instead of this, what I can do is weight divided by, now I want height into height. For height into height, I can use power function. Power height divided by 100. So for this I multiplied 100, I multiplied by 10,000, right? So instead of that I can use here itself 100, right? And then in power itself I want this to be multiplied twice, right? So power of 2. So instead of this formula I can use this as well. This looks more professional if we use power function, but the output will remain the same if you use the existing one as well. So it's up to you which one is more feasible and logical and is more easier for you, right? Let's see the alternative solution here. So the website says, instead of that what we used, weight divided by power of cast height as float. So cast function is used to change the data type of the existing column, right? So you can use this as well, but we are already getting the solution or results using these two options, so there is no point of using cast, but if you want you can. All right, so now let's move to the next question, that is third one. Show patient ID, first name, last name, and attending doctor's specialty. Show only the patients who has a diagnosis as epilepsy and the doctor's first name is Lisa. Check patients, admissions and doctors table for the required information. So we have three tables: patients, admissions and doctors, right? So here, let's remove the previous query, and this is also not required, which is there in the comment. Now I need to get the patient ID, right? The first name, last name and attending doctor ID. But now what we have to do is show only the patients who has a diagnosis as epilepsy. So diagnosis will come in patients, I guess. No, it is coming in admissions. So in admissions we are getting diagnosis, right? So this particular column will come from admissions table. Patient ID, first name, last name will come from patients table. Attending doctor's specialty, this specialty will come from doctor's table, specialty, right? So we want patient ID, first name, last name and specialty, right? These four columns. Only the patients who has diagnosis as epilepsy and doctor's first name is Lisa. Doctor's first name, this name should be Lisa, and diagnosis in admissions table should be epilepsy. So for this, we need to connect or join these three tables. Let's take patients as T1, admissions name as T2, doctor's name as T3. So we have three tables, T1, T2, T3. So we are defining or we are getting the nomenclature just for the ease of coding, right? So let's say select T1 dot patient ID because we want patient ID from the table number on patients, comma T1 dot first name, comma T1 dot last name, comma we want specialty from doctor's table, so this is T3 dot specialty, right? So we have these four columns from patients. This is T1. We have to join admissions table T2 on T1 dot patient ID equal to T2 dot patient ID, right? Again we have to join another table, that is doctors. This is T3 on T2 dot attending doctor ID equal to T3 dot doctor ID. So now T1, that is patients, this will be connected to admissions table on the basis of patient ID, right? And then if we talk about admissions table and doctors table, in admissions table attending doctor ID will be equal to doctor ID in the doctors table, right? So this is what we have taken in the key, right? So now we have joined these three tables and we are getting four columns. So what is the requirement? Show patient ID, first name, last name, attending doctor specialty. Show only the patients who has diagnosis as epilepsy. So for this I will type in where T2 dot diagnosis, because diagnosis in is in admissions table, that is T2, is equal to epilepsy, and another condition is first name of doctor, that is T3 dot first name is equal to Lisa. So I have defined these two criterias and I have connected the three tables, finally getting the four columns. Let's try to execute this. And the query is absolutely correct. We are getting two patients IDs. First name is Frank for first row, second is Precious, and we are getting the specialty as well, right? So this is how they have provided the solution, and this is similar to what we have done. Let's see the alternative solution. So in this, they have used subquery, right? So first they have mentioned the 4 columns that are required, and then it is coming from patients table as like mentioning the table name, joining, and under joining they have used another query, that is select star from admissions table as a join doctors as this on this, where diagnosis is epilepsy and first name is Lisa. So this is also correct. It depends on you which method you follow. Generally join, using join makes more sense, but this is also absolutely correct using subqueries. All right. So now moving to the next question, let's see all the questions in hard. I have done first, second, and third. Now let's move to the fourth question. All patients who have gone through admissions, all the patients who have gone through admissions can see their medical documents on our site. Those patients are given a temporary password after their first admission. Show the patient ID and temporary password. So I need to give 2 columns as output. First column will be patient ID coming from the table patients. Second column would be the temporary password that I will be creating on the basis of the 3 criteria. Password must be the following in order: patient ID, numerical length of patient's last name, and then year of the patient's birth date. That means, let's say there is the patient ID, let's say 10. Its last name is, let's say, Aurora, and their birth date is 10th March 2020. Right? So for this, my answer, or you can say password, will be 10, that is the patient ID, then the numerical length of patient's last name. So the length of the last name is 5, ARORA, total 5 length, right? So 10, then 5, and then the year of patient's birth date. Year is 2020, so 1052020. So this is the password for this particular patient ID. So this is how the password should look like. Right, so the temporary password column has 3 elements. So first element is the patient ID, second element is the last name, and the third element is the birth date. Right, so now let's move and create the query. Select the patient ID, right? So now patient ID will be from the table number 1, that is patients. So we can mention again like the way we have done previously. So I will mention T1 dot patient ID, right? And then I want the temporary password, which is equal to T1 dot patient ID, right? And then I will use 2 parallel lines for concatenation. Now I want the length. For length, I will use len, length of the last name, right? Again concatenation with the year. So I will use year function and on birth date, right? So these are the 3 elements as temporary password. So now I got 2 columns from patients table. This is T1, join another table, that is admissions. This is T2 on T1 dot patients equal to T2 dot patient ID. Okay, T1 dot patient ID. Right, so we have provided the key as well, but this is not right because of the reasons I'll show you. Let's try to execute this. Now here what I'm getting is I'm getting all the patient IDs multiple times. So what I have to do is I have to add one more step, that is group by patient ID, right? So that would be t1 dot patient ID. Now let's try to execute this. Again, we need to do something, but let's see what the result is. Now, if you see, I am getting the correct structure. I want patient ID as a column. Second column should be temporary password. All I am getting is correct. Patient ID 1 is 1100993 But one challenge here is I am getting the decimals, right? And also I am getting the zeros. So this is not required. So if I go to the expected output, you will see the number are exactly same, 110, then 01, right? Then 1963. In patient ID 3, looks like it's, so its patient ID is 3, right? You can see 3. Then second was length of the last name, that would be 6, right? This dot and 0 is not required. Then the year, birth year is 1957, right? If we check for patient ID 6, 6 would be the patient ID, 6 would be the length of its last name, then dot 0 is not required, then the year is 2017, right? So the challenge is I'm getting the decimals. How to remove them? So here, if you check here, length, it is when it is concatenating, it is not being converted into the nearest integer, lowest integer. So for that I need to use a function called floor. So here if I input the floor, similarly with year, hopefully I should get the right output. Let's try to execute this. Yes, so now I got the answer as required. Apart from this, what you could have used is, you could have used concat. So instead of this, I can use concat, then t1 dot patient ID, comma, length of t1 dot last name, right, comma, year of birth date, right, and then bracket closed as new password, let's say, and comma. Let's see the results. So see, you are getting the same output. Here you don't need to add the floor function when you're using the concat function. Alright, so these are the two options, the way you can use. And let's see the solution provided by this website. So similarly, concat they have used, and this is their subquery. No, this is not subquery. They have used distinct, and I have used group by, so it is fine. So you can use distinct here, and then group by is not required. You will get the same output. If we try to execute this, so you will get the same output. Let's see the alternative solution. This is same as I worked upon, and then here again it is same, and now they have used group by, right, the way I have done. So everything is fine. Ultimately you need to decide how you would like to go ahead with this. All right, so now let's see the other questions. In hard section, I have completed 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 questions we have completed. Let's move to the fifth question. So now each admission costs $50 for patients without insurance and $10 for patients with insurance. All the patients with an even patient ID have insurance. So what the question is saying is, the patients with their IDs in even number have insurance. Another point that is given is the patient with the insurance, the cost is only $10. Without insurance, the cost will be $50. Now, we have to give each patient a yes if they have insurance and a no if they don't have the insurance. Add up the admission total cost for each has underscore insurance group. So we need to create two columns. One is has insurance, yes or no, and then the total amount. Right, so let's click on expected output. So the first column is has insurance, yes or no, and then the total cost after insurance for each group. Right, so how to execute this? So first of all, I need to use case in this, because the criteria is whenever the patient ID is even, then it should be yes. If it is not even, then it is no, right? So what I'll do is select case when patient ID. So in order to get the even and odd bifurcation, we can use the mod function. Like in mod, we can use the column %2. If the value of this is divided by the number, that means the remainder is 0, right? So if I divide patient ID by 2 and remainder is 0, that means it is an even number, right? So whenever patient ID %2 is equal to 0, that means it is even. Then I will mention it is a yes, else no, right? And then close the case as has underscore insurance, right? So first column has been created. Now the second column is the sales, not sales, the sum of the cost for each group. For the group no, I need to add up using $50. If the answer is yes, if it is has insurance, then I would add 10. So in this also I will use case, then case when the patient ID %2 is equal to 0, then 10, else 50. Right, so what I'm saying is if it is even, that means it is having insurance, then 10, then the sum, or you can say the cost will be 10, otherwise it will be 50, and then I need the sum of this. So whatever I'm doing, I need sum. So overall I'll take the sum of the total case as, and then what is the column name? Admission underscore total. So I'll just type in this from the admissions table. Now I need to group this by the has underscore insurance. Alright, so now I'll copy this, group by has insurance. Let's try to execute this. And the query is absolutely correct. I got two columns. First column is has underscore insurance. I'm getting no and yes. For no, I'm getting the total amount. And for yes also, I'm getting the total amount. Right, so this is what the website is also telling me to do. View alternative solutions. Let's see what they have done. So they have also used union. So if you have seen my previous video, in the easy section I used this function union. So in union, what you can get is you can append the rows, right? So if I'm getting here, you can see there are two rows. So first query I can use for no, and second query I can use for yes, and then I can append them to get this particular output, right? And then this is also similar, but in this we have used subquery. All right, and then in the last solution, select column name, then sum of admission cost as admission total from, and then again there is a subquery. All right, so this is sorted. Now let's move to other questions. Now my next question is, show the provinces that has more patients identified as male than female. Must only show full province name. Now here I have two tables, patients and province underscore names. Here I want to show provinces that has more patients which are male, right? So for example, in particular province, I have 100 patients. Out of them, 70 are male, 30 are female. Then I have to show that particular province. If in that province I have 40 males and 60 females, that I don't have to show that province. In this output will be only one column with the province names. In these provinces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the 7 provinces. In these 7 provinces, male count would be more than female count. So this is our objective. So first of all, I need to connect patients table with the province names table so that I can get the province name for each patient. Right. So let's select the province name. Province name is in the T2 table. Province names. Oh, the column name is province underscore name. Right. From the table province names, this is T2. I have to join this by with patients table. This is T1 on T1 dot patient underscore ID equal to T2 dot patient. Okay, so I have to connect this on the basis of province ID. So T1 dot province ID equal to T2 dot province ID. Right. So now till now I have fetched the province name. Right. So if I execute this, I will get all the province names and this will be duplicate. Now the next step is I have to group by the province ID. So let's say I have to group this by province ID. Now let's try to execute. Now you will see all the province names: Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, Newfoundland, Nova, Ontario, Quebec, Saskatchewan. So we have all these province names. Now we have to filter wherever the male population is more than female in terms of number of patients. Those records I have to fetch. So for that, with group by, I will use having, right? So I have told this the difference between the where and having clause. We use where generally with select star and having with the group by. So having, so the criteria is the count of the males. So for male, I will use case when gender is equal to male, then 1 end. So with this, I will count the number of records with gender is equal to male. If this is greater than count of case when gender equal to female, then 1 end. If the count is greater for male than female, then only I have to fetch the results. So I have provided the condition. Now let's see what is the output. Now I filtered the province names and I am getting the desired output. All right. So now if we see the solutions provided by them. So first solution is the same what I did. Let's see the alternative solution. In this, they have selected the province name from, and there is a subquery select province name, and then second column is the sum of the records where the gender is equal to M. Then third is the sum of all the records where gender is female from patients joining the province names, right, and group by province underscore name where this column is greater than this column. Whenever this is true, then I'm getting all the province names. If we talk about this solution, this is similar to what we did. So I'm getting province name, then patients we are joining and grouping by province name, having. So I used case. Instead of that, they have used sum of all the gender equal to male is greater than sum of all the gender equal to F. In this solution, they have provided sum of the records when gender is male, then 1 else minus 1, it should be greater than 0. So instead of using the case twice, they have merged into one case itself, right? And finally, in this one, again, everything is similar. Just the condition, the way they have represented. It is case when gender is equal to m, then it is 1. So I am counting them. It should be greater than total count into 0.5. That means if the majority, if it is greater than 50%, then I am getting the majority, right? So these solutions are also correct. It depends on you how you want to use them. All right, so let's go again to all the questions in the hard section. I've completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. Now let's move to the seventh question. In the seventh question, we are looking for a specific patient. Pull all the columns for the patient who matches the following criteria. So we have criteria where first name contains R after the first two letters. Second criteria is the patient should be female. Third criteria is born in February, May or December. Fourth criteria is the weight should be between 60 and 80 kgs. Next criteria is patient ID should be odd number, and finally city should be Kingston. So if we meet all these criterias, I need all the columns for that particular patient, right? So in short, the structure would be select star from the table patients where condition 1 and condition 2 and condition 3 and condition 4 and condition 5. How many conditions do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and condition 6. So this is the structure of how we have to do select star. We have to select all the columns, right, from the table patients, right, where the condition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all are meeting. So we have to use AND operator instead of OR, right? So the condition 1 is the first name contains R after the first two letters, right? So first name, let's say it is Aarti, let's say the first name is Aarti. So the R is coming at the third character, right? 1, 2, 3. So this will be validated and will come in the records, right? So I want the third character to be R. So for that I can use substring. So substring of the first name, comma. Now I want the computer to say that it should start from the third character. So I will mention 3, comma. How many characters it should see? 1. So it is 1. This particular character, this will give me one character which is third position. It should be equal to R, right? So it should be equal to R. So this is my condition number 1. Condition 2 is identifies their gender as female, F. So for that it should be gender equal to F. Similarly, third condition is born in February, May or December. So it should be like month of birth date in. So we can use in operator. In February is 2, comma, May is 5, comma, December is 12. So whenever the month of the birth date is in 2, 5 or 12, it should be included. The fourth condition is the weight would be between 60 and 80. So in that case, I can use weight between. I will use between 60 and 80. Right. Fifth condition is their patient ID is an odd number. Again, I will use patient ID %2. If this value is not equal to 0, that means it is odd. So I want all the patient IDs with odd number. Last condition is city is Kingston and city is equal to Kingston, right? So I have mentioned all the 6 conditions. For that I need all the columns from the table patients. Let's try to execute this. Now, in this case, I am getting only one patient ID, that is 1839, and all the columns for this particular patient ID. So this solution is absolutely correct, right? So now let's move to the next question. This is my 8th question. Show the percent of patients that have M as their gender, round the answer to the nearest 100th number and in percent form. So ultimately I want the percentage of males out of overall patients, right? So if I have 40 male patients out of 100, so my answer is 40%, right? So I want to write 40%. If the answer is, let's say, 50.23 percentage, right? So I want to mention like this, right? So I want to get two decimal points, two digits after decimal and the percentage symbol. So this is how I want. Here also I want 40.00%, right? So because it is to the nearest 100th number. 100th is, this is 10th and this is 100th, right? So now let's try to write the query. Here I want to select the total count of the male, that is count. For the male I can use case when gender is equal to male, then 1 end. So this is my numerator, right? Divided by denominator is total, so that is count of all, right, from the table patients. Let's try to execute this and then change accordingly. Control plus enter. I am getting 0. Why is that? Because in this case, when we are dividing and we have to get the percentages, we always multiply by 100, right? So if the percentage of male is equal to number of males divided by total people, right, this is generally multiplied by 100, right, to get the percentage. So in this case I will multiply this by 100, so I can use this in numerator, and let's see what is my result. So now I'm getting 54. So this is being rounded off because the answer can be 54 point something. Let's see what is the expected output. Expected output is 54.48 percentage. So for percentage I can use the concat. So after this I can use percentage symbol. This will give me the percentage symbol. Let's see what is the output now. Okay, so this is coming here, but it should come in the output. Okay, let's try to remove this and then keep this in the bracket. Now let's see, right? So now I'm getting this percentage here, and let's try to change the column name also as percent of male patients. So now I'm getting percent of male patients. This is 54. Again, I am not getting the exact output. Exact is 54.48. So what the output is giving me is rounded off value. I want the decimal. For that I can use the cast function. If I apply cast function on the denominator is the total number of males plus female, then I want to change the data type of the output that I'm getting. I want to change it to float, right? So if I apply the cast here, it will be cast bracket the count as float, right? Now let's see what is the output. Now there is a syntax error near as. Okay, I need to close this. Near as, this is my as float. This looks good. This is my bracket. Let's make it more clear. Count of case when gender is equal to m, then 1, and multiplied by 100. Then this is my count, right, as percentage of male patients. Now let's try to add the rounded figure. For that I need to create round of the total value, and at last I need to apply as 2 decimal, right? Let me see if I'm getting the correct value. It is giving me syntax error near as. Let me just remove this for the time being. Now I'm getting the value error, syntax error near here, right? Let me try to type again. Sometimes this happens. Okay, so because I'm getting this extra left bracket, because of this I'm getting this error. So now if I try to execute this, I'm getting this perfect value 54.48. So what I did was, if I remove round again, right, and try to execute, you will get the total value 54.481236. This was because using cast. If I again remove cast, right, you will get 54. Now in order to get the decimal values, like in decimal, this is the whole number I'm getting, I want it in decimal, then I will use cast count all as float. I'm changing the data type into float. Now I'm getting the decimal values as well. Now I need to round off till the 100th. If I go to question, it is till 100th, that is up to 2 digits after decimal. So for that I will use round, and then at last I will use till 2, and then bracket closed and press enter. Perfect. So now we have got the solution to this particular question. If we see the question solutions in the website, they have used concat, then round, then used the select star from patients where gender is m divided by cast count as float. So you can use this as well. I have used case, right? And if we view the alternative solution, they have used select round 100 into average and then concatenated with percentage. This is also correct. Now they have also used another way. There is another way. So instead of that, we can just sum all the records where the gender is m divided by total count. Again they have used cast as float so that they can change it into the float, and then ultimately we are getting the values in decimal. All right, so now let's move and see all the questions in hard difficulty. I have covered 8 questions till now. We are left with 2 questions. Let's move to the ninth one. The ninth question is, for each day, display the total amount of admissions on that day. Display the amount changed from the previous date. Right? So now I need to get the total amount of admissions on that day. Display the amount changed from the previous date. So here I need to get admission date and the total number of admissions on that particular day, right? And third column should be the total amount changed from the previous date, right? So if we see the expected output, first column is admission date, so it is select admission date, comma, the count of admission date, right? It can be defined as admission day, right? From the table admissions. Let's try to execute this. I'm getting admission date and admission underscore day, and this should be grouped by the admission date. So now I'm getting all the admission dates and total admissions for that particular date. So you can see the first two columns are exactly same, and I'm getting it perfectly. Now we need to add the third column, that is admission count change. So in this, I want the difference between the current day versus the previous day. For that, we can use the window function, that is lag, right? So for this, I will create another column. For column, I can use count of admission date minus lag. For lag, why lag? Because I need to calculate the previous date amount as well. So this is my current value minus the previous value. So I'll get the difference, right? Lag of the count of admission date, right? This should be over order by admission date, right? So this is the formula, lag over. So this always goes together. We are using lag to get the value for the previous date. So for this particular date, I want the value. This value can be directly fetched by using count of admission date. Now I want to subtract this from the previous date. So previous date was, value was 17, this was 9. So I want 9 minus 17, that is minus 8, right? So for this, I will use count of this minus lag of this. Lag means minus 1, and I'll get the value 17. So 9 minus 17 will be minus 8, right? So I can just mention this column as admission count change. Now if we try to execute, you will get the perfect answer, right? So ultimately in this particular question, the most important part was lag over. So if you want to understand window function, I will create more scenario based questions and you can understand them thoroughly, how to use lag, lead and all such window functions, right? If you have to see the alternative solution, here we have used with admission counts table as, so any variable name with this as select admission date, count patient ID as admission count from table, group by admission date, order by admission date, descending, select. So now we have already defined one particular name. Now we will fetch the values from here. So select admission date, count and count minus lag, the way we have done here from this particular table. So I hope this was clear. This particular solution was more simple and can be used in wide scenarios. So this solution seems more feasible and more usable, you can say, right? So now moving to the next question, which is my last question of this video. The question is, sort the province names in ascending order in such a way that province Ontario is always on the top. So I have multiple province names. So if I have to order them in ascending, it is very easy. I can use order by. But the question is, I have to place Ontario province on the top always. Once I have Ontario on the top, and then from the second row, it should be in ascending order. So if we see expected output, Ontario is always on the top, then it is in ascending order. You can see Alberta is second because it is starting from A, then British Columbia starting from B, then Manitoba, then New Brunswick, and so on, right? So how to get this? So first of all, we have to fix Ontario. In order to fix Ontario, we can use two conditions in order by. So let's get select province names. I need province name only, right? So only one column is required, province name, from province names table, right? Order by. Now I need to mention one order where I can get Ontario on top. So for that I will use case when province name equal to Ontario, then 0, then else 1, and so this will give me Ontario always on the top because it is defined as 0, comma. As you know, we can always sort the list with multiple fields. So first of all, it will be ordered by this particular condition. Then whatever I mention over here, I will mention province name. So now with this, if I just remove this for the time being, let's try to execute this. So you can see I'm getting Ontario, then I'm getting Alberta, I'm getting British Columbia, I'm getting the correct values, right? But in general, I need to mention how to order this after Ontario. This will make it more crisp and you won't make any mistakes, right? And then this value will be also correct, right? If I made Ontario as 1 and else is 0, then Ontario should come at the bottom. Let's see if it is the case. You can see Ontario is coming at the bottom irrespective of the number, the name, the alphabet it is starting from, right? So in this case we have used case in the order by. All right, so it is select the column name from the table name, order by, and now this is case 1 and then the finally province name. All right, so with this we have completed the difficulty hard on SQL practice. So these were the 10 questions. I will be continuing with various challenges in SQL, majorly on Windows functions, join, and then using various mathematical functions and all those things, because those are the most important functionalities and the tricks required to be successful in SQL, right? So in my upcoming sessions, I will be covering various other websites and then working on various company scenario based questions, the questions which are asked in the companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Meta. Those questions will help you to understand the practical aspect, like what exactly is required or what kind of questions are asked in the interviews and how you can crack them by understanding the approach, because ultimately no one knows everything, right? So if I am SQL expert, I can't solve every question. I need to Google, I need to understand various things, right? So but ultimately it is your approach towards the question which is really important. If you know the basics, if you understand the concepts, the fundamentals, then you can solve majorly all the questions, right? So I hope this session was really helpful. In my upcoming sessions, as I said, I will walk you through various other questions. Till then, keep practicing in SQL. It is all about practicing. If you're practicing, then you can ace SQL really easily. Otherwise, watching the videos and trying nothing from your end won't help anything in your data analytics journey. So please subscribe to this channel if you're new, and if you really like this, please give me thumbs up and comment below and share across with your friends and all family. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Thank you. Bye.